Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kangsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. We are continuing the fourth chapter. Today we will do shlokas 7 to 9. The thought from our Samskriti today is a shloka from the Mahabharata. This is in the Vana Parva or the Aranya Parva. Vana Parva is also called the Aranya Parva in Mahabharata. Chapter 313 of this Parva, shloka 117. And this is from the Gita Press edition of the Mahabharata. There are other editions where these numbers will be slightly different. The same shloka is also present in them. This is a very, very famous shloka. Tarko apratishtaha shrutayo vibhinnaha naiko muniryasya vachah pramanam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasya panthaha. So this shloka appears in the conversation between Yudhishthira and the Yaksha. We're all familiar with that famous conversation between the Yaksha and Yudhishthira, where the Yaksha asks Yudhishthira several intriguing questions about dharma, and Yudhishthira answers them expertly, and the Yaksha is satisfied at the end. So this is one of the questions where the Yaksha is asking him, what is the path of dharma? How do you follow dharma? So Yudhishthira's answer is as follows. He says, Tarko apratishtaha. Tarka means logic, logical arguments, logical reasoning. Apratishtaha is inconclusive. Shrutayo vibhinnaha. There are several scriptures. There are several sources of knowledge. Vibhinnaha. So much variety in them. Naiko munihi yasya vachah pramanam. There is no one muni. There's no one. Naiko means na ekaha. Naikaha. There's no one muni or one philosopher whose words are taken as the conclusive truth. Different philosophers say different things, and there are different people who follow them with their own shraddha. So there's no one person you can say, okay, I'm going to take his words as the pramana, and that is my thing. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. The real truth about dharma is situated. Nihitam means is situated or present. Guhayam. Guhayam means in a guha. Guha can refer to a cave or a deep hole, some secret place, some place of concealing something. So the reality about dharma is actually not just generally available loosely. It is confidential, it is secretive in nature. And therefore, to understand dharma, mahajano yena gataha sa panthaha. The path is one that has been followed by the mahajana, means a great personality. So one should identify a person following a path of dharma, accept that person as great after seeing his qualities and his nature and his sincerity, his genuineness. And once one identifies such a person who is genuinely following the path of dharma and is convinced that this is the person, one should just follow that person and do whatever that person is doing with his example and listen to what he says. That is the way to understand dharma. So to understand dharma, one shouldn't engage in endless logical arguments, debating, because debates are always something that anybody can overturn. Like I can, for example, present my argument and conclude, and maybe a few people will be convinced by my argument. But tomorrow, another person who is even more knowledgeable than me will come and just overthrow my argument. He will give a different argument and prove that whatever I said is wrong or limited. So there is no point relying on it. Similarly, if one just goes into a lot of books and reads this and that, they will present a lot of views, a lot of different things. One will not reach any conclusion. One will remain confused. So this way, there are so much, variety. There is so much different opinion present that to really follow dharma, one should identify somebody who is actually following it in their own life. Until one gets somebody who is genuine, one may have to search. But once one finds somebody who is genuinely following a path of dharma, then one just follows that person. So dharma is meant to be followed in that manner and understood in that manner. So this shloka is often cited when this question is raised about how should one follow dharma. Logical reasoning is inconclusive. There is a variety of scripture, and there is no one philosopher whose words are universally taken as the truth. What dharma really is concealed and secretive. To understand dharma, one must take the path traversed by a great personality. So the Bhagavad-Gita is about dharma, and in the Gita, the great personality that we are listening to is Sri Bhagavan himself, who speaks about dharma, and the whole book is about an analysis of the ultimate dharma, paradharma. So dharma has different levels in it. We have spoken about it before. Samanya dharma is dharma which helps us to remain happy in this material world. But paradharma is dharma which helps us to realize our ultimate happiness. The ultimate happiness is when we connect with the ultimate source of happiness, which is Sri Bhagavan. He is a person who is always happy. He's always filled with a very natural sense of happiness. He is made up of what is called as Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means all goodness, all truth. Chit means knowledge or pure consciousness. And Ananda means bliss, pure happiness, unadulterated happiness. So because he is pure happiness himself, he is constituted by pure happiness. When we connect with him, naturally that happiness comes to us, right? Happiness is contagious. If you mix with people who are depressed, unhappy, sad, pessimistic, then that is also contagious. That will come to you. You will become pessimistic, you become angry, you become depressed. In the same way, if you mix with people who are happy, optimistic, very positive, kind to others, those qualities will come to you and you also feel happy. And Shri Bhagavan is the best person for that. The best person to connect with, who is the most optimistic, who's the most happy, who's perfect in these qualities. And therefore, when we connect with him, we also become like that. That nature comes to us, right? And our whole being transforms. So in reading the Gita, in studying the Gita, we're actually connecting with him, understanding about him, and we also see the path by which we can become closer and closer with him. So in the last session, we spoke about Bhagavan's revelation about his origin. He said, I have had so many births before. Arjuna was asking, how come you instructed Vivaswan when Vivaswan was born much, much before you? So Shri Bhagavan replies by saying, this is in the 5th shloka, he says that I am actually not present only in this birth. I have had so many births. In fact, you also have had so many births, but you don't remember any of them. I remember all of them. And then he says, I am actually unborn. There is no birth for me. But I appear, I manifest myself from time to time. And in my manifestations, I come not with a material body, like normally all living beings in this samsara, in this material existence, they take birth based on their karma, their past karma, the punya and papa they do. That gives them a new body after the previous body has expired. So according to that, they go from one body to another body, and the body has a short lifetime. In that lifetime, they perform different activities, they perform new karma, and then they incur papa and punya for that. That is the normal cycle for any living being in this material existence. But my existence is not like that. I am unborn. I have no birth, no material birth, but I manifest myself whenever I want to. And he explains that in that beautiful shloka we heard last time, Ajopi san avyayatma, bhutanam ishwaro san, prakritim swam adhishtaya, in situated in my own nature, sambhavami atma mayaya, by my yoga maya, I appear. Now he continues from there, the 7th, 8th, and 9th shlokas we will look at today. The 7th shloka is a very famous shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, the 7th and 8th one also.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah, we just recapped this portion, so I will not go through it again. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. He says, whenever dharma declines, yada yada means whenever. Yada means when, so 2 times yada is put, it means whenever. dharmasya, of dharma, glanihi. Glanihi means the depreciation or degradation or the erosion. Erosion of dharma happens. O Bharata. Bharata is the name of Arjuna. He is the descendant of the Bharata king. Abhyuthanam adharmasya. So along with the decline of dharma, what happens? Adharma increases. Adharmasya abhyuthanam. Adharma rises and its level goes up. Okay, people do things which are against dharma. Tada means then. Tada, at that time. Atmanam srijamyaham. I create myself. He says, Srijami literally in Sanskrit means create. Srijanam. Srijanam means creation. Atmanam means myself. So he says, Atmanam srijamyaham. Here the word srijam is used. Srijanam is used just to indicate his manifestation. It is not that he is created at that time, because the Atma is never created. Neither his Atma nor our Atma. We are never created. We are always existing. So here Srijanam is used in the sense of manifestation. He manifests himself. So this is the translation. As and when there is a decline in the system of dharma and a rise in the culture of adharma, I manifest myself. There are very fine meanings in connection with this shloka. So this is obviously a response to the natural question that would come of when do you manifest yourself? You said that you don't take birth, but you manifest yourself. And you also said that you come with the help of your yoga maya. Now tell me, when do you come? So he's saying, I come when adharma increases and dharma decreases. Here, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, he cites an earlier commentary to his by Madhusudana Saraswati. Madhusudana Saraswati is one of the very well-known and well-accepted commentators on the Gita, who lived several centuries back. He was in the line of Adi Shankara. He comes in the line of Advaita, in the Advaita system, but he writes, his writings are very much inclined towards the Vaishnava philosophy, the Vaishnava orientation. He's very strong in his writing, and Vishwanath Chakravarti and Baladeva both cite him very often in their work, in their commentaries. So this is from his work. Atmanam means Deham, Srijami. Like we said last time, his body and self are non-different. Nitya Siddham Eva, it's always Nitya Siddha, means always existing. Tam Srishtamiva Darshayami Mayaya. I make it appear as if it is born. Okay, so it appears as if he is taking birth to the naked eye, means to the untrained eye. Person who doesn't know all this will think, yeah, he's just like us, he's taking birth from some mother. His mother's name is Devaki, or you can say Yashoda. So every time he comes, there is some mother and he takes birth in that mother's womb. So it's just like our birth. He says, no, Srishtamiva Darshayami. Mayaya. There is a Maya involved in it. It's not like our birth. It's just Punya and Papa that's acting. There's a Maya which arranges that appearance to happen. The next shloka is also very well known. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. You can think of this shloka as an elaboration of the previous shloka. So he says, whenever there is a decline of dharma and increase of adharma, but let me be more specific now. There are three reasons why I come. Paritranaya sadhunam, to deliver my bhaktas. Sadhu, my bhakta. Paritranaya, to deliver them. Vinashayata dushkritam, to destroy those who are doing nonsense, who are creating trouble, who are actually troubling those who follow dharma. Vinashayata dushkritam. Dharma samsthapanarthaya, to establish dharma. So there are three things. Establishing dharma is required when dharma is eroded. When the existing system is running, then maintaining the system is not so difficult. Any king can do that. But when it is eroded, then dharma samsthapanam, I have to re-establish it, restart it. So dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I appear in every yuga. Okay, the word yuga can be understood in terms of the way we defined yuga, Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. Or you can also think yuga means epoch. Any period of time can be called a yuga. So from time to time, I appear. I manifest in each yuga in order to deliver the saintly, destroy the wicked, and establish dharma. Again, very, very fine points. here natural question is that you said whenever there is a decline of dharma, there are so many saintly kings. You just spoke about Rajarshaya in the first shloka of the 4th chapter. You cited some names, Vivaswan, then Manu, then Ikshvaku. You said Rajarshaya, they are Rajarshis. Means they are not only Rajas, but they are Rajarishis. They are saintly kings. So they can also do this. Aren't they supposed to be taking care of dharma? Then why are you required? Why should you come personally? So he's giving these 3 activities, and he's saying that basically the point is that they cannot do it. There are some things that only I can do. So these are the 3 things: sadhuram paritranaya, dushkritam vinashaya, and dharma samstapanarthaya. So here again, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, for explaining this phrase paritranaya sadhunam, he elaborates and he says, mad ekanta bhaktanam, mad darshanot kanthas putachittanam, yad vayagryam rupam dukkham tasmat tranaya. And very similar to that, Baladeva Vidyabhushana, he explains, mad rupa guna niratanam, mad sakshatkara, so sakshatkaram, mad sakshatkaram akanksyatam, tena vina ativyagranam, tad vayagre rupat dukkat paritranaya, atimanogya swarupa sakshatkarena. Okay, very beautiful. So Vishwanath Chakravarti and Baladeva, there's an overlap in their things, so I will together explain them. He says that the word sadhu refers to those people who are actually fully absorbed in me. They are fully absorbed in Sri Bhagavan. They are very anxious. They want to see his beautiful form. They are not just thinking that Bhagavan is somebody who, whom I should worship so that I get mukti. They are not just thinking like that. They are people who are very eager because they know about him. Just like you know about some great personality, then you want to see that person. Okay, I'm just giving an analogy how to understand this. Let's say that some people are a fan of Bollywood film. Okay, it's an easy example to understand because we see a lot of people who are attached to watching Bollywood movies, and there are actors, famous actors, actresses, and so let's say there is some current actor who's very famous, and he's very talented, he's very good looking, performance is excellent, he's very talented. So one who is attached to Bollywood films would probably feel an anxiety that, okay, one day I should see that person. And he would probably think, okay, what would I do if I see that person? I would probably take a selfie of mine standing with that person. What will I say to that person? I will congratulate that person for the movies that he has produced. I will ask him what he likes. I'll probably gift him something so that he remembers me. So there is an utkanta. This is called utkanta, anxiety, or a longing in the mind to see the person whom you adore, whom you like, right? So exactly the same thing is felt in the path of bhakti. When one matures in the path of bhakti and understands who Sri Bhagavan is, what his qualities are, what his nature is, okay, then it's no longer like just a religious faith. It's not just some faith by which you think, okay, if I pray, then I'll be safe. It's not like that. It's much more than that. It's far away from that, actually. It is a feeling of longing to know that person deeply, to associate with that person, to want to see that person, when will I see him? When will I actually get to see him? What should I do? How should I elevate myself? How should I purify my mind so that I can actually see him? Sakshatkar. I can have that. Okay, so Maddarshanot Kanta Sputa Chittanam, whose hearts are very pure. And he says that longing to see Sri Bhagavan is dukkham. It causes pain. The absence of Bhagavan causes pain in the heart of these people, these bhaktas. And it's not just ordinary pain, it's Vayagriya Rupam Dukkham. See, Vayagriya Rupam means that is intense pain. Vayagra means very aggressive, very, very deep, troublesome. Okay, that pain that I'm not able to see Bhagavan. I know so much about him. I've read about him. I'm listening to Bhagavad-Gita. I'm reading Bhagavatam. I'm hearing so many descriptions about his activities, his qualities. He does this. His nature is this. He's so genuine. And I want to see him, but I'm not able to see him. What is wrong with me? What is lacking in me? What is that quality in me which I should develop by which I can actually be able to see him? So this kind of pain they are experiencing. And to relieve them of this pain, paritranaya, Here, paritranaya means to relieve the sadhus of this kind of pain, Sri Bhagavan appears. So when he appears here, he displays his form. Okay, he comes, he performs very endearing activities. Okay, in Vrindavan, for example, his original form, that's the original form in which he resides in Gokula, in the Nitya Gokula. And that form is a form where he's most genuine, right? He doesn't have any identity as God. He's not God. He's just a small boy, a very innocent boy. He has no feeling that I am the supreme. Everybody should bow down to me, respect me. So even Yashoda is not able to understand how this little fellow, he's not afraid of anything. He just takes these cows, goes here and there. She's all the time thinking, what should I do to make sure he's safe? Okay, her love for him is so intense that she's always thinking about him. What can I do to protect him? But he doesn't think that, I'm God, I can take care of everything. There is something else which is taking care of him all the time, right? So that is his most genuine form, and that those activities in Vraja, we will talk about them as we go forward. They are described in detail in the Bhagavatam. The most genuine description of Sri Bhagavan, his original form, is in the Bhagavatam. So when you read that, you start seeing that his nature is such that he has no longing for worship. He has no longing for respect, honor, and he is all the time eager to give respect to others. Right? He takes care of the go, for example, the cows. He feels that he is their servant. He's so much in adoration of them. He says, these are the people who are doing so much. They are giving milk, they are giving, their cow dung is so useful to all the other living beings, but they don't take anything for themselves. They just eat a little bit of grass. They are happy. So they are my worshipable. I should worship them. Okay, he's in that state of mind. So he takes care of them. He goes behind them. So such a Bhagavan, when he performs those activities, the sadhus, they get so much pleasure. They want to go and see him. Okay, they're all taking longing and they want to see how those activities are performed, what he does there, and they want to talk to him. They want to know him. Right in between Brahma, you must have heard the story of Brahma. He is not able to accept that such a thing, such a person can be the supreme person whom I am worshipping. Right? Brahma is always meditating on Vishnu, and he now knows that Vishnu has appeared here on Bhuloka and he is performing these activities. He can't believe. He can't believe that a small boy who is running behind cows and who is taking care of cows himself personally. No, there are no servants. He is the servant of everybody else. So how can this small thing be Bhagavan? Something wrong in somebody's understanding. So he goes there and he plays a trick on him. He says, let me see what happens. So he tries to play a trick and he steals the boys. There are cowherd, the gopas who are roaming around. And he sees this small boy who everybody is calling as the supreme. He's playing with all these gopas. In between, he plays his flute. He's dancing. His body is covered with mud. How can, so he just says, let me take away these gopas and see what he will do alone. Let me see if he can use his power. So he takes away the gopas. He brings his swan and Sri Bhagavan is now gone somewhere and he comes back. You find the gopas are all missing. The cows also, the calves, they're all missing. So he's wondering what happened. Where did they go? And then he thinks that, how will I go back now home? If I go back without them, if I go back alone, what about their mothers, my mother? What will they say? They will cry. They will be very unhappy. They are not there. So I don't know where they have gone. Maybe they have gone, run away somewhere or somebody has taken them. But I can't go back without them. So what he does, he quickly expands himself. Okay, suddenly some power, he expands himself and he becomes each of those gopas. So all the gopas which were taken away by Brahma, now all of them have reappeared. They're all Bhagavan himself in those forms. And similarly, all those little calves and cows, they're all there now. Okay, they're all Bhagavan in those forms. So he goes back home. And he goes back home, and when he comes back home, nobody finds anything missing. They come back home normally, and the mothers of those gopas, they suddenly find that their love for their own son has now multiplied many times. They're feeling much more intense love than they felt earlier. Even earlier, they were feeling a lot of love for their child, but they're not able to understand why that love has suddenly multiplied many times. Okay, something is mysterious. And similarly, the cows also, their love for their own calves, it has multiplied. And this goes on for a year. For a year, Sri Bhagavan comes with them for his grazing and normal day-to-day activities, and they go back home every day. And up and down they are going, and everything is going on normally. In the meantime, Brahma, who has stolen all these original boys and the cows and everything, he's going on his swan. And it's just one moment in his lifetime. We earlier spoke about Brahma's lifespan and our lifespan, how different they are, right? The time scales are different. So in his lifespan, only one small moment has passed. The moment he steals, he turns around and he starts going. At that very instant, he realizes, or he thinks, he doubts that maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I'm playing with fire. I don't know what I have done. Let me quickly go back and see what has happened. So he turns back and he sees, and he finds that all the boys that he has taken and who are sitting in his swan, they are all there on the ground. Actually, 1 year has passed. Although for him, only one small instant of time has passed on the earth, on Bhuloka, in Bhuloka's time scale, 1 full year has passed. And that full year, all these things have happened. And Brahma sees that everything is normal in the same condition in which he left it. Right? The boys are all there. They're all playing. Sri Bhagavan is not bothered at all. He's enjoying with them. The cows are grazing. The calves are grazing. Everything is normal. Then he says, did they all go back? He looks back at on his swan. They're all there. So he looks at his swan. They are there. He looks on the ground. They are there. And then he understands what has happened. Okay, so this story concludes with Brahma then returning them back to Sri Bhagavan, and he goes to Bhagavan and he falls at his feet and he starts offering his prayers. There's a whole chapter in Bhagavatam where he offers his apology and he says that I misunderstood you. Now I know what happened and I am nobody in front of you. And Sri Bhagavan there, Sri Krishna who is standing there, he is Krishna of the original Vrindavan, right? Gokula. He doesn't understand what Brahma is saying. He doesn't know who's this person. Why has he come here and why is he bowing down to me? I'm only a small cowherd boy. What does he want from me? Why is he offering all these prayers? He doesn't know. In that mentality of service, he doesn't think that I am his master. It's only in his form as Vishnu he thinks like that. Right? In his original form as Krishna, he doesn't think like that. He only knows that I am this cowherd boy. I am the servant of these Gopalas. So this incident happens. It's very beautiful. The irony is that Brahma is offering prayers, but Sri Bhagavan has no cognizance of why he is doing it. And he just listens to him and Brahma then goes away. Okay, this is a beautiful story. So to display these kind of very beautiful activities so that those who are there can see them and those who are not there can hear about them. Later on, Sri Vedavyas writes them in the Bhagavatam. And today we are talking about them. So we can also relish them. So for this reason, Paritranaya Sadhunam. Okay, so this is the explanation of Paritranaya Sadhunam. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. Again, Vishwanath Chakravarti explains, Tatha dushkritam mad bhaktaloka dukkadainam mad anyaihi avadhyanam Ravana kansa keshyadinam vinashaya. And Baladeva says, Tatha dushkritam dushtakarmakarinam mad anyaihi avadhyanam Dashagriva kamsadinam tadrik bhaktadrohinam vinashaya. Right? Very similar meanings. He says that those who are troubling my bhaktas and those who cannot be killed by anyone other than me. Right? If you see the story of Ramayana, for example, here Ravana's name is mentioned in the commentary. Kamsa is mentioned, and Keshi, the Keshi the demon which came as a horse. So these are mentioned here. If you see the story of Ramayana, where Ravana is troubling everybody, he's causing nuisance everywhere, and he wants everyone to recognize him as the supreme. At that point of time, the Devas go and pray, and Vishnu says, I will come now. And Vishnu takes 4 forms, right? Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna. He appears in 4 forms as the son of Dasharatha. And he says that only I could have done this. Nobody else can do this. So I have to appear. Now I have to appear because Ravana, even Dasharatha cannot kill. Nobody can kill. Everybody is now thinking of how to just remain peaceful and allow Ravana to do what he wants and allow, let him allow us to do what we are doing. So try to live peacefully. So to remove him, Only Sri Bhagavan can come. And Tadrika Bhakta Drohina. So people like Ravana and Ravana's followers are causing so much misery. When we read Ramayana, we see all those stories where people like Maricha, Tataka, they're going on killing, disturbing others. So Rama, Vishnu comes as Rama and finishes all of them. Right? Vinashaya cha dushkritam. And Dharma Samstapanarthaya. Madhiya Dhyana Yajana Paricharya Sankirtana Lakshanam Paramadharmam Mad Anyaihi Pravartitum Ashakyam Samyak Prakarena Sthapayitum Ityartha Vishwanath Chakravarti. Baladeva says, Mad Ekarchana Dhyanadi Lakshanasya Shuddha Bhakti Yogasya Vaidikasyapi Mad Itaraihi Pracharayitum Ashakyasya Samsthapanarthaya. Again, certain types of dharma, when dharma is eroded, to re-establish it, right? And certain forms of dharma like Sankirtanam. This is something that in a mass scale, to make it very firm that this is the Yuga Dharma, I appear myself. Okay, when there is a major paradigm shift that is required. If it is minor things, then my devotees, my bhaktas, the Raja Rishis, they will be able to do it. But when there is a major paradigm shift to be created, then I will appear myself. So each of the avatars requires his presence, because situation at that point of time has reached a point where the ordinary people cannot handle it. Even the great kings cannot handle it. Only he has to come. It is also described that at the end of Kali Yuga, the Bhagavatam says this, that is 4,27,000 years from now. At the end of Kali Yuga, Vishnu will again appear in the form of Kalki, right? Because by then, the Bhagavatam describes what would happen in the Kali Yuga. And if you read the description, you'll realize that we are seeing some of those things now. For example, the mass scale of cheating that's happening, how people, they run away from the cities to the forests because they cannot live in the city anymore. The cities are miserable places. People look for alternative places to live where they can get peace of mind. Okay, peace of mind becomes one of the biggest requirements of human society, right? That should not be the focus. The focus is dharma, and peace of mind is a byproduct of dharma. When you follow dharma, peace of mind is an automatic byproduct. You don't pursue peace of mind as the main goal of your life. But we don't know that today. We are following adharma in the name of dharma. And therefore, we require peace of mind as a separate item. And therefore, to pursue peace of mind, we go to the forest, or we go to a resort located in a forest. And that gives us peace of mind. But then within a few days, we have to come back, right? And then we are thinking, when do we next go to another resort? So, Dharma Samstapanarthaya, Kalki will appear and he will restore the peace of mind for everybody, and the next Satya Yuga will begin. So this is the meaning of saying that only Sri Bhagavan can come and do this. And of course, dharma in various forms, especially the dharma of bhakti. When there is pure bhakti to be established, it is described in the Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyaihi Sankirtana Prayahi Yajentihi Sumedasaha. Krishna appears in the Kali Yuga as Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he establishes the Yuga Dharma of Sankirtana. This shloka in the Bhagavatam describes that Yuga Dharma. And he says this Dharma is so simple that anybody in the Kali Yuga can practice it, right? The other forms of Paradharma, like for example, Archa Vigraha, or performing great yajnas like the Ashwamedha Yaga, these are not possible in the Kali Yuga, practically possible. Although theoretically we can talk about them, but to execute them practically, we need an ecosystem. And such an ecosystem is present in the Satya Yuga very well. Right? Slowly it erodes as the yugas go by. But until the Dwapara Yuga, we see kings performing such yajnas, big yajnas in which successfully they're able to invoke the deities and make their offerings and attain the goals. But in the Kali Yuga, everything becomes very difficult to perform other than bhakti. And in bhakti, the simplest process is the process of chanting the names of Bhagavan or contemplating on the names of Bhagavan. Just hearing the name, right? It's so easy to do that anybody can do it. You don't have to be a Brahmana, you don't have to be a Kshatriya, you don't have to belong to any class. You don't have to be a man or a woman. It doesn't matter which gender you are. Even animals, it is said that when Mahaprabhu was traveling through the Jharkhand here, where we are living now, the Jharkhand forest, the animals, they heard him chanting and they began to chant. The animals like leopards, deer, tigers, who were roaming around in the wild, who normally don't make any human sound, they started chanting the names because his purity was so high. The intensity with which he was chanting the name, doing Sankirtana, was so pure that they got attracted and they were chanting. Okay, so this is the power of the name. It is so simple and so easy to chant. So a question naturally comes when we say Vinashaya Dushkritam and Dharma Samstapana Paritranaya Sadhunam. Sri Bhagavan is like any other ordinary being because uh, normally if you see anyone in society, those who worship them, those who follow them, those who praise them, they become biased towards those people, right? You like people who worship you, you like people who praise you. If they don't worship you, at least they praise you, say good things about you. When somebody says good things about me, I like that person. If somebody says something critical about me, then that person becomes my enemy. Right? This is a normal material world. So then looking at this shloka, it looks like Sri Bhagavan also is like that only. He's an ordinary person because after all, he is coming not to protect the demons, he's coming to protect only the sadhus. He wants to give them mukti, but what about the people who do bad things? Because they're doing bad things against his dharma, the dharma that he has established. He doesn't like them. So he is like any of us. So what is the difference between him and us? The answer is no. He is not biased. He is very neutral because even those who hate him and think of him in enmity receive his kripa and are liberated from this maya and experience that eternal happiness of mokshananda. There's so many examples. If you see even in the Bhagavatam, when he kills Putana, for example, or so many other demons which come, they get a mukti called a Sayujya mukti. There are different types of mukti, but all of them receive some form of mukti, right? So in Sayujya mukti, one at least gets delivered from future births. One doesn't have to take a material birth, but one realizes one's Brahman nature and one gets situated in that happiness of being free from material misery. That is called Brahmananda. So the Brahmananda is a part of Sayujya Mukti, the first most basic form of Mukti. Beyond Sayujya Mukti are four other forms of Mukti. Sarupya Mukti, Salokya Mukti, Samipya Mukti, and Sarshti. So each of them has their own characteristics. So we see the example of Kamsa. Okay, Kamsa was killed by Krishna in this particular manifestation. And we all know the story how when Sri Bhagavan, he reached the age of about 16 or so. So the story goes that he and Balram went from Vrindavan to Mathura, right? And they met their parents. The parents were still under the imprisonment or under confinement under Kamsa's rule. Kamsa was ruling. And Kamsa had not yet killed Krishna. That was his goal, right? He was all the time thinking of Krishna. When do I kill Krishna? So he had not killed Krishna. And so Devaki and Vasudeva were still suffering. They are the parents, right? So now Kamsa eventually was killed by Krishna in the wrestling match. So Kamsa arranges a wrestling match because he knows that these two young boys, 16-year-old boys are coming. And he's got very powerful wrestlers like Chanura, Mushtika, and so on. And they are so powerful that nobody, even the most powerful, other powerful person on this earth cannot fight with them. They can kill anyone, right? So these are two tender boys, just 16 years of age. They are from a village, right? So they come there and there's a wrestling match. And in that wrestling match, if you read the Bhagavatam, very beautifully explained how Sri Bhagavan kills them. And when Kamsa finds that these two boys are killed, all the wrestlers, not only Chanura and Mushtika, but all the wrestlers who are there who also attack them, then he gets very angry. He gets very, very angry. And he says that now, let's close this match, send these two boys away. I'm going to close this match and I'm going to punish the parents who have produced these children. So Vasudeva and Devaki must now be punished, severely punished. He orders that in the assembly. And the moment he orders that, Krishna jumps onto the place, the throne. He's sitting on a throne, Kamsa. So Sri Bhagavan jumps from his arena, from the ground to the throne. He catches Kamsa by the hair and he drags him from the throne to the ground. He throws him on the ground and he sits on his chest. And then he thumps him. He gives him one big blow and he takes out his life. Kamsa is killed at that point. So what happens after Kamsa dies? Okay, that is answered here in the Bhagavatam. This is in the Dashama Skanda of Bhagavatam, the 10th Skanda, where Sri Bhagavan's Leelas are described from beginning to end. The 44th chapter, the 39th shloka. It says, Sa Nityada Udvigna, Nityado Udvigna Dhiya Tam Ishwaram Piban Adan Va Vicharan Swapan Shwasan Dadarsha Chakrayudam Agrataha Yataha Tadeva Rupam Duravapam Apa. A very beautiful shloka. It says, this person Kamsa, his nature was that even though he was very wicked, he had the good fortune that his wickedness was directed at Sri Bhagavan. So, Nityada means always. Udvigna dhiya, with a anxious mind. Udvigna means again anxious. Right? He was very anxious, troubled mind. Udvigna, very, very intensely. Tam Ishwaram, that Ishwara, Sri Bhagavan, Piban, while drinking, Adan, while eating, Va, Vicharan, while thinking, while contemplating about anything, Swapan, while sleeping, Shwasan, while breathing, Dadarsha, he saw. So when doing all these activities, eating, sleeping, drinking, while breathing, thinking of something, all the time, he was in his mind's eye, he was thinking about that Krishna in great enmity, all the time. Even the person who is practicing bhakti, he wants to think of Bhagavan, but it's not so easy, right? Because the mind goes here and there. The sadhana involves thinking about Bhagavan as much as you can, but you can't. It's not so easy to think of Bhagavan when there are so many other things going on and there are so many other things to distract you. But Kamsa, he was not doing any sadhana. It was naturally coming to him. That enmity was naturally present in him, and he was thinking intensely of Bhagavan all the time. And how was he thinking about him? He was thinking about him as Chakrayudha, person holding that Sudarshan Chakra. And that form of Bhagavan holding the chakra, and the chakra will come and attack me. I should do something. I should kill this fellow before he kills me. So this thought all the time was in his mind. And therefore, Yataha, because of that reason, Tadeva Rupam, that very form of a person holding a chakra, Durabhapam, it is so difficult to obtain this form, even for the great yogis. The yogis are thinking, I should get that Sarupya Mukti. Sarupya Mukti means getting a Mukti in which you get a form which is very similar to the form of Bhagavan. Sri Bhagavan's form, like the four-handed Vishnu, for example. He's holding the conch, the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. Those four objects are in his four hands. That form, many yogis, great yogis, want to get that form because there is so much happiness in getting that form. And there is no material birth after that. That's an eternal form. So people are anxiously trying, but it's not so easy. That's what is meant by saying Duravapam. Duravapam means something very difficult to get. Apa. He got that. Kamsa got that form. So the point is, Sri Bhagavan, although Kamsa was so wicked, Sri Bhagavan, in the process of removing his wickedness, in the process of removing his nuisance, he was a nuisance to society. He was causing so much misery to people in society. In the process of removing him, he not only removed him, but he gave him that mukti also. He removed him and took him to his own world and gave him that very rare mukti, which very people find difficult to obtain. And that shows that Sri Bhagavan is not biased. He's not biased towards people who worship him. He's fair. He's very, very fair. Even to the people who are wanting to kill him, he gifts them with mukti. That is his kindness.
So over here, I just wanted to tell that for Sisupal also, sir, Lord Krishna, patiently waited till 100th abuses. Only on the 101st, he threw.
Shishupala Vada, in Shishupala also.
God is very patient
and again gave him mukti after that death. Yes. So Kamsa also has a history that Kamsa earlier was the demon Kalanemi. And in that birth as Kalanemi, he was not given mukti in that particular birth. He had to take one more birth as Kamsa. And in that birth as Kalanemi, Vishnu appeared in the form. That form of Vishnu is called Ajita. Ajita, not Ajita, sorry, it's Ajita. It's Hraswa. That form of Vishnu is called by that name. And in that form, he killed this demon Kalanemi, who was born later as Kamsa. And in this birth as Kamsa, he obtained his final mukti.
Sir, I had a question. Was Kalnemi the same person who was in Ramayana, or it's a different demon? There was a demon who actually stopped Hanumanji from getting a Sanjeevani booty. So even his name was Kalnemi. So is it like not from Ramayana, but a different from a different era?
I don't have enough reading to answer this question now. We'll ask Jayashri, do you know this? She has read the Ramayana original one. Jayashri, do you know the answer to the question?
No, I'm not aware of this. Like connection between Ramayana and Mahabharata through Kalanemi. I'm not sure.
Okay. In the Valmiki Ramayana, does Kalanemi appear when Hanuman goes to get the Sanjeevani? In Valmiki's
No,
Ramayana, is it there? Or is it in the other versions of Ramayana?
I don't think it is there in Valmiki Ramayana. Maybe some other versions like Ramcharitmanas. Anyway, I'll check once. Valmiki
Yeah,
Ramayana.
check it once and let me know. We'll find out. Shweta, we'll find out the answer to this and let you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the story about Shishupal and Kansa, so is it like, I think it's related to the story of Jay and Vijay, who were taking care of Vishnu, and they had to take birth in every yoga as the enemies, so that they would be able to remember
Yes.
God every time. So
Yes, that is Shishupala and Dantavakra, not Kamsa.
okay.
Kamsa was not one of those two, Jaya Vijaya. Dantavakra was the other person along with Shishupala.
Okay.
Yes, you are right. Your story is correct.
And sir, I just googled, so there is indeed a character called Kalanemi, and Lord Hanuman killed Kalanemi before, and after killing Kalanemi, he went to fetch Sanjeevani booty.
Yeah, is it in the Valmiki Ramayana or in other versions of Ramayana, like
It is
Ramacharita?
in the Valmiki Ramayana. And but what's interesting is, so it's the son of Virochana. That's what it's saying. It's the son of Virochana. It's a different source. Now that's what they're saying. That okay, so it's saying although not a part of Valmiki Ramayana, his encounter with Hanuman has been described in several versions, but at last he was defeated by Hanuman. So they are different. That's what they are saying. They are different. There is one that is the son of Virochana and the grandson of Hiranyakashipu. That's the one that was defeated by Vishnu. And then there is this one, which is he's the son of Maricha. So Maricha, who was tasked with play a deer and go and lure Sita.
Yes.
So that Maricha's son was Kalanemi, and this Kalanemi was defeated by Hanuman, who is an avatar of Shiva.
This Kalanemi is an avatar of Shiva, is it?
No, that Kalanemi was the son of Maricha and was defeated by Hanuman.
Right.
This Kalanemi is the son of Virochana. This one, the one you were talking about.
Yes.
Like on the slides. That is the son of Virochana and grandson of Hiranyakashipu. That was defeated by Sri Vishnu.
Right. And who was then born as Kamsa in this birth.
Yes.
Yes. And sir, Kalanemi is not part of Valmiki Ramayana. This is also mentioned. Although not part of Valmiki Ramayana, his encounter with Hanuman, Kalanemi encounter with Hanuman, has been described in several versions.
Right.
But at last he was defeated by Hanuman. So it's not part of Valmiki Ramayana. Maybe Tulsidas Ramayana it would.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Other narrations of Ramayana. Yes. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay. This is Adhyatma Ramayana. That's where it comes from.
Okay. Good. Okay, now there is a shloka in the Bhagavad-gi as well, which explains Kamsa's attaining this Swarupa. It says, Yam Yam Vapi, this is in the 8th chapter, 6th shloka. Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam, Tyajatyante Kalevaram, Tam Tam Eva iti Kaunteya, Sadatad Bhava Bhavita. Says that if you, whatever we think at the point of death, whatever one thinks at the point of death, one attains that existence in the next life. So therefore, Sri Bhagavan later on says that always think of me so that you come to my existence. So this also explains Kamsa always thinking of that form of Krishna attaining Sarupya Mukti after his death. So we have completed 2 shlokas today from the Bhagavad Gita. I will also do one more shloka quickly, and this is the 9th shloka of the 4th chapter. This actually sums up the discussion that has happened from the 5th shloka onwards. 5th shloka began by saying, I have had so many births before, and now he is concluding by saying, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sovarchana. Says, my birth and my activities are divine, divya. And one who knows this, evam yo vetti tattvataha, one who knows this as the truth, one who really understands and accepts this, tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. He does not get another birth after leaving this birth, after giving up this body, after the death of this birth. He does not get one more birth. Instead, mameti, so Arjuna, he comes to me. He takes birth with me. So here, again, a few fine points. One is that his birth being divine also means that his birth is not subject to the 3 gunas that we are subject to, sattva, rajas, tamas. We have discussed this earlier. We will keep coming back to sattva, rajas, tamas in various discussions in the Gita in the future as well. He is always nirguna. He is never influenced by the 3 gunas. So when he comes in this existence also in front of us, although he behaves like us, his activities are not influenced by the 3 gunas. Now, in the Gajendra Moksha, there is a prayer which supports this shloka. It says, Vidyate yasya cha janma karma va, na nama rupe gunadosha eva va. I beg your pardon, na vidyate. I missed this na here. Na vidyate yasya cha janma karma va, na nama rupe gunadosha eva va. Tathapi lokapyaya sambhavaya yaha, swamayaya tan yakulam tan anukalam richati. Tan yanukalam richati. This is from the Bhagavata Puranam. Again, in the 8th chapter. Sorry, the 8th skanda. The 8th skanda of Bhagavatam. The 3rd chapter and the 8th shloka of the 3rd chapter. So Gajendra, as you know, Gajendra is an elephant, and Gajendra is actually was a king before. King Indradyumna, because of a curse, he is born as Gajendra. And in that life as Gajendra, he is born as a king again. He is born the king of elephants. He is the herd leader of the elephants, and he is highly respected among the elephants. He has many female elephants roaming around him and all that. And then one day he goes to a lake and he's drinking water and enjoying in the lake along with his other elephants and the female elephants and everything. So when the enjoyment and the party is going on, all of a sudden, crocodile catches one of his feet, and the crocodile wants to devour him. And Gajendra resists, and there's a fight between him and the crocodile. And the other elephants try to help him, but the crocodile is so powerful that nobody is able to do anything. Neither Gajendra's strength nor the strength of the other elephants is able to help vanquish that crocodile. The crocodile is extremely powerful. And ultimately, after many, many years of fighting, after a very long time of fighting, Gajendra finds that his strength is almost eroded. He's no longer able to resist, and he's about to be vanquished by the crocodile. The crocodile's strength is not eroded. The crocodile is still very strong, and it's about to finish him. So at that point of time, he turns to Vishnu. He remembers Vishnu because he was a bhakta earlier as well. So his memory of Vishnu comes, and he starts offering prayers to him. And he starts pleading with him to please help me. Please help me from this situation. And Vishnu appears, and Vishnu kills that crocodile and also gives mukti to Gajendra. That's how the story goes in brief. And of course, this story is also understood by people as an analogy for material existence, where Gajendra is a Jivatma who is enjoying in this material existence, and eventually Maya catches up with him and suffering comes. When suffering becomes very intense, then the Jivatma turns to Bhagavan and prays to him. And when the Jivatma turns to Bhagavan and pleads with him to help, then Bhagavan comes and helps him and takes him out of that misery. So that's the analogy that is, the story is seen as in an analogical manner as well. So this shloka was cited here just to say that it sort of resonates with the shloka in the Gita. that we are reading now. So evam yo vetti tattvataha means that these words, which Sri Bhagavan says, Janma karma che me divyam, they cannot be proved logically. There's no logical proof for them. You cannot use logical reasoning based on earlier assumptions and then say, okay, therefore Sri Bhagavan's Janma is Divya or karma is Divya. No. You have to hear it from the Shastra, and it is Shabda Praman. Okay, Shabda means Aptavakyam Shabda, that we hear from a credible source. We accept some source as credible based on our judgment. And then once we accept that source as credible, we then accept what it says. Like, for example, a lot of knowledge that we have in this world. Let's say, for example, we say somebody is our mother, right? We call somebody our mother, somebody our father. But if someone asks us, how do you know that that person is really your mother? What would your answer be? My answer would be that no, when I grew up, everybody told me that that person is my mother and so is my father. That's how I know. So that is the example of Shabda Prama. We don't logically prove that so-and-so is our mother or father. Nobody does that, right? If you ask me, can it be logically proved? Then you might say, yeah, maybe by DNA test you can prove and all that. But does anyone do a DNA test and try to prove that so-and-so is my father, mother? No, we just accept it. So Shabda is like that. So similarly, these words about Bhagavan and a lot of other words in the Shastra are meant to be understood like that. The Shastra is a credible source, accepted as a credible source. It's based on the Veda. And so Anumana is not used in that. And that is the meaning of saying Evam yo veti tattvataha, means one who accepts this as the tattva. Tattvataha also has another meaning, because in the Gita itself, in the 17th chapter of Gita, the 23rd shloka, Sri Bhagavan says that these three words, Om Tat Sat, sometimes we hear these words, right? Om Tat Sat coming as a phrase. Om Tat Sat actually are three names of that Brahman. Brahman is a form of Bhagavan. And that ultimate Brahman is addressed by three different words, Om, Tat and Sat. So the word Tat here can be interpreted as a name of Brahman, as referring to the Brahman. So when you say Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Vetti Tattvataha, you can understand that because Sri Bhagavan is nothing other than that Brahman, he is Brahman himself. And therefore, we can understand that that Brahman has appeared, that eternal and imperishable Brahman has appeared before us. And it's not like the birth of a normal living being. And here it is from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. It says, Tameva viditva atimrityumeti nanyaf pantha vidyate anaya. There is no other path other than understanding him to attain moksha. Only by understanding him, one can attain moksha. Moksha is very difficult to obtain otherwise. It's not an easy thing to obtain. There is people who do Ashtanga Yoga, for example, for centuries together. They sit in some remote mountain or something, and then they are lost completely. They completely cut off from the world, and very austere practices, very severe austerities are practiced. That is the way to attain Bhagavan by some people's opinion. But here he says that you don't have to do all that. Just understand me, accept me as I am. That is enough. If you just accept me as I am, then you will get moksha. Okay? That is indirectly implying the process of bhakti. In the process of bhakti, we accept it as it is. We begin by that acceptance. Tyaktva deham punarjanmanaiti mameti, so Arjuna. He obtains me after giving up this body, no material birth. And here Ramanuja was, as some of you know, a famous philosopher who lived in India about 1,000 years back, Vedantic philosopher. And his commentaries are studied even today. He was after Shankara, but before the other Vedantic philosophers. He was like the second prominent Vedantic philosopher. Madiya divya janma cheshtita yathatmya vijnanena vidvasta samasta mat samashrayana virodhi papma asminneva janmani yathodita prakarena mam ashritya madeka priyo madeka chitto mameva prapnoti. So he gives a very fine meaning. He says that armed with this factual understanding of the divine nature of my birth and activities, one becomes rid of all their sins and impurities, which normally come in the way of taking my shelter, my ashraya. But after they become rid of that, they are able to take my shelter. And by taking my shelter, even in this birth itself, they attain me. It's not that they have to die and then they attain me, right? It's not that you attain me after giving up the body. But even as you're living in this birth, that person attains me, he says. So taking shelter of Sri Bhagavan, Samashrayanam, is the key here. So very briefly, let me explain this word Samashraya. We'll be touching upon it again multiple times. It's just like when we have not taken shelter of Bhagavan, it does not mean that we don't need the shelter of anything else. All the time, every living being actually seeks the shelter of someone or something or the other. There is always something for which we look for our shelter, right? Someone is there for me. We need someone to be there for us. It's for everybody, right? Even if somebody is the most powerful, let's say some very rich person, let's say in our country, Mukesh Ambani is a very rich person. Now, even he needs the shelter of someone else. For example, the government, right? The government has to be favorable to him. If the government goes against him, it can cause enormous misery to him. It can destroy a lot of things that he has done. That is at the let's say gross level. At the subtle level as well, in the internal mindset, in psychology, psychologically, all of us need shelter. We need someone to say that what we are doing is okay. We need to think that there is someone who approves of what I'm doing. We need to feel that there's someone who understands me. We need to feel that there is someone who actually likes me. There's someone who loves me. Okay, so at least one human being in this world is there who accepts me, who likes me, who loves me, who understands me. If there is no one like that, that is when someone becomes, hopeless or depressed. That's when depression happens. There's no one that I can turn to, no one that I can talk to, right? So this requirement of ashraya, this requirement of samashrayam, is a very innate thing for the jivatma. It is not something that Bhagavan is imposing upon us or suggesting to us as a new thing. All he's saying here is that just like you take shelter of anything in this world, just take shelter of me. If you take shelter of me, then everything in your life will be sorted out. Everything will be sorted out. Everything will fall in place, right? So what is meant by taking shelter of him? That is what the Gita is about. All the things that are going to come now in the Gita will explain to us and make us understand what is that. What is it that is involved in taking his shelter, right? So we will go forward and we will go into all those details. We have done 3 shlokas today, and we will continue from the next session onwards. Any questions, comments we can take, and then we can close for today.
So no question, just a thought here, sir, that the shloka of Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, it was always played in Mahabharata, and even before I knew the meaning, just by Shravanam, it had an impression in my mind. So when you read that, my first impression was of Mahabharata coming up in my mind, sir. So, yeah, just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
I had 2 quick questions. One was from the first like pre-shloka we did today from Mahabharata. So we spoke about one who achieves greatness or like follow someone great. So that is something that I was a bit confused about, that with age that also changes. Like in Dwapar Yug, someone great might be someone who's knowledgeable, has good character, and some of those things. In this age and time, a lot of people are like, okay, if you are, you don't get caught in legal problems, but you accumulate a lot of wealth. So I think that is the kind of interpretation that has changed. And not that people want to talk about such things socially, but somehow that is how it's defined. So what's an interpretation that people like us who want to remember and think, we can always think of Krishna and say that, okay, that's the great personality we are trying to emulate or follow. But for someone in general, what is the, like, how should they interpret that particular shloka? Like, how should they think about it?
The simple way to think about this shloka is this, that if you want to become good at anything, okay, let's use the word dharma in a very broad sense. Okay, let me give a very easy example. Let's say I want to learn a particular skill. Let's say I want to learn how to play the guitar. Okay, now I want to become good at guitar so that I can then follow the dharma of guitaring. Okay, let's consider guitaring to be a form of dharma. And I want to become good at that so that I can then practice that culture and I can live with it all my life. So how do I do that? Now, tarko apratishtaha. That is, I can go and logically argue, this is the way to learn the guitar. This is the way, this is what I should. I can go and debate about the guitar. I can conduct so many discussions on it. I can read a lot of books on the guitar. I can listen to a lot of philosophies on the guitar, right? But what will actually work for me? I simply have to find somebody who knows how to do guitaring well and who knows how to teach that to others well. That's all. If I just follow that, within some time, I will learn how to play the guitar. That's all it is. So similarly, if you want to follow any process of dharma, I gave a crude analogy of the guitar for dharma, but now let me talk about dharma itself, what is meant by dharma in the Shastra. Let's say I want to practice the dharma of bhakti. And what should I do? I can go on debating, but instead of doing that, if I find somebody who is actually practicing bhakti and who is sincerely doing it, who is fully genuine, who is not, that's what is the meaning of Mahajana. Mahajana means one who is nishkapat, who is fully genuine in their intention, who has no intention to cheat another person, to make something for themselves, who is only wanting to give to others but not take anything from them in return. Okay, such a person. So if I'm able to find a person like that, and then go to him and ask him, what should I do? Please advise me. And follow whatever he says and see what he's doing in his own life, him or her. It could be a lady also. So follow them. By just following them, my path of dharma becomes practically possible. Right? I can realize that path just by following that person. There is no point in debating on what is bhakti, how should it be done, arguing with others. I should do this, I should do that, you should do this, this is wrong, this is right. One may engage in discussion for the sake of clarity, but tarka means here debating and trying to prove the other person wrong and prove yourself correct. This is pointless. Just follow the person who is doing it. That's the meaning of Mahajana. It's simple.
See, thank you for that. So the way when I discuss in a discussion with people, and again we can take this offline. I think the idea is when I talk to people about this or something like that. You gave a great example of someone who plays the guitar. So like there would be a lot of musicians, and that brought this other sub question in my head, which is a lot of people who play the guitar or something. They would say, for instance, that you know what, to play the guitar, you need to be in a creative space, and for that I need intoxication. And now I'm like, wait a second, are you playing the guitar or are you saying you can't play the guitar without intoxication? And that's the kind of thing. And somebody inferior will keep giving an example. And I would realize that the person at the top of at somewhere middle of the food chain would be referring to somebody who's very, very famous and has that bad habit. And so we cannot. So now I feel that Excel has a circular reference where we are saying that we want a person to be pursuing that thing with a sense of dharma so that we can look at dharma. So I'm saying that definition is very convoluted in today's age because people may not have that sense of dharma, whereas they have become famous or something in that field. And now people, it's like, you know, like I will, like Freddie Mercury has been into drugs when he was doing, you know, his shows. Now I want to be someone who's as famous as Freddie Mercury. How can I not have drugs? So they try emulating every bit of that person, whereas that person might not have a sense of dharma. Does that make sense?
I think it's a very good point you're making. There's a beautiful shloka in the Niti, which should be mentioned here. It says, Gunair uttamatam yati nochair asana samstitaha prasada shikarastopi kakaha kim garudayate. It says a person attains greatness on the basis of his qualities. Greatness is a function of a person's good qualities and not high position in society, not high status, not a celebrity status also. He says because a crow does not become Garuda just by sitting on the terrace of a building. So a crow can go to a very tall building because it can fly and sit on the terrace of that building and say that all the other crows are now below me. So now I am Garuda. No, the crow still remains a crow only because his quality is that of a crow. So in the same way, a person may become a big celebrity in life, but if his qualities are low class, he's a low class person, he takes drugs and he does all kinds of other nonsense. Even if he plays the guitar well, he is not a Mahajana. In the shloka, the word Mahajana refers to a person who is not only skilled in doing, he may not be having a social status also. He may not be socially known. In fact, many of the Mahajanas, they don't acquire social fame because they stay away. They stay away, aloof from public attention. They don't want public attention because it disturbs them. They stay away, so we have to seek them out. So such people are the ones who are called Mahajana here. People who are genuine, who have the qualities which will transform the person who comes in touch with them, transform positively. If you go to somebody who's taking drugs and making a show of dharma, there are many people like that today, right? People who they may not take drugs, but see that's where it becomes even more difficult because you see externally everything looks genuine. The impurities are not so gross as taking drugs or taking alcohol or womanizing or something like that. That's very gross. It's very visible. Right? If somebody is womanizing, you can easily see it. But the impurity, the person externally may look very, very like a sadhu, but internally there may be a very strong craving for respect, for power, for fame. And so these things are more difficult to identify, person who's beyond that also. And to get a person like that in your life, it requires, that effort from our side, that sincerity, that sincere search. And when we get that, then we should follow that person.
Has genuine skill, but also has a sense of values.
Yes. Not only about skill, it's also about values. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes.
And the second piece was probably here, which is obtains me not after giving up the body, but even earlier.
Yes.
Please explain, like, what is obtaining? How do you define obtaining? And like obtaining in the sense means obtaining the Sachita, that kind of joy that one can be in when they witness Sachidananda. Like, what is obtaining? How do you obtain, and what is the feeling of obtaining?
Obtaining is experiential in nature. Okay, using a modern word in modern Western philosophy, one of the branches of modern Western philosophy is phenomenology. Phenomenology is about lived experience. So bhakti, the path of bhakti, or even the path of any other like jnana, all these paths of mukti, paths towards mukti, they are all experiential in nature. So obtaining here means you experience Bhagavan's presence in your consciousness. It's a change of consciousness. So in the consciousness, which is currently not connected to Bhagavan, which is connected to all the material objects, seeking happiness in material pleasures, right? And also in, afflicted by material misery. So many ways misery comes to us, right? Either physically or through subtle forms like disrespect and so on. One becomes free of all that. One's consciousness becomes fully aware of Sri Bhagavan. In the last session, I gave the example of Prahalad, how Prahalad, all the time, he was aware of the presence of Sri Bhagavan next to him, or he could feel that Sri Bhagavan was touching him all the time. Okay, this experience is in the consciousness. It is not physical. So this is what is meant by obtaining him, even in this birth. Even before you give up the body, you're actually feeling his presence all the time. And because of that, you experience a spontaneous joy inside, a natural happiness. You are not looking for that happiness, but that happiness naturally comes from within, and you experience that happiness. You live in that happiness, and because of that, you are also not disturbed when some disturbing thing happens. Even if some disturbing thing happens, you become conscious of it, but you don't get disturbed by it. You don't get shaken by it. That is the meaning of saying obtaining here.
Thank you.
Sir, I had a doubt regarding the concept of mukti. As you told, like after being killed by the God himself, so some like people, some of them have got mukti, like Kansa or Ravana or all of them. So isn't it obvious that those people who know that God has already like arrived to the planet, and they would choose the path of going in a wrong direction so that they get killed by God and get mukti? And why I'm asking this question is that that's what actually I have heard in Ramayana, Odia Ramayana also, that Ravana also knew that I am doing, like I am going against Lord Ram. He is the God, and by going against him, I will get killed by him, and I will get the mukti. So and anyway, the path of obtaining mukti with by following the like path of bhakti and karma, it's much more difficult, I would say. So I was just curious to understand these two aspects.
Yeah. So in the path of bhakti, or in the path of other paths of dharma also, it is not recommended that this should be done, because this adharma only leads to pap. It does not lead to bhakti. If one consciously thinks. See, in the case of Kamsa, Ravana, etc., they were not following a path to mukti. They were living a natural life of hatred towards Bhagavan. And that natural life came to them as a result of his arrangement. Or maybe even if it's not by his arrangement, it came to them over time. It came to them, maybe there is some other Jivatma, not Ravana, let's say, who from Anadi Kala has had intense enmity towards Bhagavan, and eventually his intensity of that enmity becomes so strong that Shri Bhagavan personally kills him. Okay, then he gets that. It's a good fortune. It's a good fortune that Bhagavan personally kills you. So even though he has accumulated volumes of papa, he gets the blessing of being killed by Bhagavan. So in such a case, it's fine. But keep in mind that that person was not consciously following a path to mukti. He was not saying, I will now do the yoga of hatred. No, he wasn't doing that. So there is nowhere in the Shastra a path described like that, which recommends that one should try to somehow think of Bhagavan even by hatred. No. Wherever it is said, think of Bhagavan, it's always think of Bhagavan in favorable terms, in positive terms, in a positive way. Right? So, for example, in the path of bhakti, anukulyena Krishna anushiranam, not pratikulyena. Anukulyena means thinking of Krishna in a way that is pleasing to him. He likes it. जो उनको मन में अच्छा लगेगा. Right? So that is not a path that is approved. Maybe some version of Ramayana, somebody has interpreted like that, but I don't think it is there in Valmiki Ramayana. I've never heard this in the context of Valmiki's Ramayana, which is the original Ramayana.
Okay, maybe I'm not exactly 100% sure about that, but few of the scholars who describe Ramayana in Odia, they describe it that way also. That's what I have heard from some of the scholars who give pravachana and all. So that's why I asked.
Okay.
And like the basis of asking this question is that Ravana is always there, but somebody who is accompanying Ravana, he might think that by joining Ravana also I might get killed by Lord Ram. So that's how this came to my mind. After knowing that, like he was in a path of bhakti or dharma before, but he didn't get the desired result that he wanted.
Yeah.
Let's suppose, like hypothetically, I'm just assuming this.
Yes, yes.
So,
There is, the closest I can think of to what you said is the example of Maricha.
yes.
So Maricha was told by Ravana to go take the form of a deer, right?
Yes, yes.
And then try to fool Rama by
Mhm.
taking him away, and then Ravana will come and take away Sita. So this setup, when Ravana proposed to him,
Mhm.
Maricha did not want to do it because he had experienced earlier what
Yes.
happened. He had seen that. So he said, I don't want to play with Rama. I don't want to fool around with him. If you want me to fool around, give me somebody else. But he didn't know how to tell this. So if he opposes what Ravana says, then Ravana will kill him. So he had to
Yes.
choose. He knew that if he goes and fools around with Rama, then Rama will kill him. So
Yes.
he had to choose between getting killed by Ravana and getting killed by Rama, right?
Mhm.
So this is there in the Valmiki Ramayana that he chose.
Yes.
Now let me follow what Ravana says so that I'll get killed by Rama. That is better. That is a better death than getting killed by Ravana.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So this is
Understood, sir.
yeah. So this is one thing that comes close to what you are saying.
Yes, yes. I also understood the concept.
Yeah.
So another thing I wanted to know from you that, like, according to you, what is the best translation of Bhagavad-Gita that we can follow?
There are many translations available in English and in various languages. In Hindi, Gita Press translation is quite good. You can follow the Gita Press translation.
Mhm.
In English, there are many. I can give you some link to a translation, which I have recommended to others also. I can send you an Amazon link of that. Just send me a reminder.
Sure, sir.
And I will reply to that.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, I can also give you a soft copy of an English translation that I have, so you don't have to buy it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Please also give it to.
Yeah, sure. Anybody who wants, I can send it. I can send it in the group, so anybody can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That would be better.
I'll send it in the group. Yeah, yeah. Good.
I wanted to add some point here. In the light of Mahabharata, the shloka Vinashaya Dushkritam Paritranaya Sadhunam. So there we can see clearly that Sri Krishna facilitates the killing of many people who are in the path of Dushkarma. For example, Narakasura, Jarasandha. He gets umpteen opportunities to kill them, but he doesn't. He makes sure that his bhakta, either Duryodhana, Arjuna, Bhima kills Jarasandha. Ultimately, he facilitates the killing of those Dushkarma Pravartakas through his bhaktas or through some design. For example, Narakasura gets killed by a saint who is meditating in a cave, and he gets burnt. When the saint opens the eyes, he gets burnt. So it's like that. So it's not necessary that Sri Krishna comes and Bhagavan takes the avatara and kills papis himself. He facilitates the killing of the papis also, and that way he protects the sadhus. So
yeah.
When we read the Mahabharata, this point becomes very, very clear. Why he doesn't kill Jarasandha? Because Jarasandha attacks Mathura, I think 21 times. And all those times, Krishna pardons him. And the last time he goes and shifts his kingdom to Dwarka. And finally, he makes sure that Bhima kills Jarasandha, nobody else. So Vinashaya Dushkritam, that's how I think we have to understand in the light of Mahabharata also.
Yes. So the point here is that his presence, it's Krishna's presence which sets up those killings, like Narakasura's killing, the Jarasanda's killing through Bhima, right? So when we say Vinashaya Dushkritam, it does not necessarily mean that he
Krishna
with
will
his
only kill.
he's directly with his own hands or his own weapons he kills them, but his presence there, his manifestation there facilitates that to happen. He doesn't do it by not manifesting, which also is possible. But he says these people require me to come and set up the situation by which they will get killed. So he comes and sets it up. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's the leader of the team. He's the leader of the team which makes it happen. So his player is Bhima. Bhima is the instrument through which he makes Jarasanda's death come.
Yeah, you need some basic level of
I had
strength.
one question. Sorry, Arnab, you are saying something? Sorry.
No. I was saying we as humans can probably only prepare ourselves so that if God wants to write such a story, then we are ready to at least serve there. I mean, Bhima
Yes.
had a certain level of strength before he was chosen for the task,
Yes.
and that is also a very big deal. I think so. So I heard this analogy somewhere where it's like try to be the sharpest pencil so that when God wishes to write the best story, his eyes invariably fall on you and he picks you up.
Nice.
So that is, I don't know. I mean, I just added that as a thought that Bhima also had so much strength. Like if he would have told me go and tear Jarasandha off, I would be like, okay, I need another 40 years of bodybuilding and then I'll fail.
Fortune favors the brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, given a chance, I would like to be Yudhishthira, Arnab.
I agree, yes.
Yeah, I would like to be Karna, ma'am, and Arnab and everyone. I'm very inspired by Karna, actually.
You want to be Karna, is it?
Yes, I'm very inspired by Karna. Like, I don't know if I want to be Karna or not, but Karna, I think, is a very powerful character than Arjuna. I feel like that. So, yeah.
Okay,
He wishes to be Karna and make the right choices.
Yeah, I have to make the right choice.
A modified version of Karna.
Modified,
The
the
modified version of Karna.
Yeah.
If I can.
Karjun. He wishes to be Karjun.
Karna plus Arjun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's for other discussion, because it's a very deep discussion that how Sri Krishna comes and persuades Karna to become the king, because he's the eldest of all the Pandavas, but still Karna moves away. So we can discuss it sometime after.
We can discuss it appropriately. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. This related to the same shloka, Vinashaya Dushkritam. So this Putana, we read in the Bhagavatam that she was a killer of children. So how is that like she, I mean, tries to come and kill Sri Krishna and then she gets mukti. So what happened to all the papa she accumulated by killing small children earlier?
Just like is in the case of Kamsa. Kamsa is the one who sent Putana, right? So he got Sarupya Mukti. Putana gets Sayujya Mukti. She also gets a mukti called a Sayujya Mukti because she treats Sri Krishna like her own son. She breastfeeds him, right? She feeds him milk from her own breast. Even though it is poisoned, because she played the role of a mother, she showed that, at least in her action, she acted like a mother. She took a form like a mother and she tried to mother him. So in return for that, she is awarded that Sayujya Mukti. She's not given Bhakti, but she's given that Sayujya Mukti. All her papa is gone. All her papa is burnt because of contact with Krishna.
For that, you'll have to turn on Wi-Fi.
So it's a blessing. It's a blessing on her that
Okay.
she got that. It's a kripa. So kripa comes in various forms, and kripa is said to be ahaituka, means it is not logical. You can't logically understand why Sri Bhagavan picked that person to give kripa, right? But when it comes, you know that that person has got that kripa. And that person got it. That's all.
Okay.
It is not a function of punya. That kripa is not a function of punya. Not because she did some punya in the past and therefore Bhagavan gave her this kripa of mukti. No, it's not like that.
That's why actually I asked that question, sir, because someone can like somehow get that sense that like the God has arrived to the like world, and that then he can or she can plan to get killed by the God.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that question.
Yes, yes.
I love this.
Hmm.
I mean, as a thought, it's amazing. I mean,
It's
the
amazing.
way,
Yeah.
like it's true. I think same with getting killed in the Kurukshetra, right? Because it's a dharma yudh. So anybody who gets killed eventually gets this thing. So now if even if you feel that okay, fine, Team Arjuna or Team Pandava is not the the team that I can go for, let me at least go for a team Duryodhan. And
Yes.
then if I get killed, I get Swarg anyway. Even though I know I'm fighting for the wrong side, I'm getting Swarg. Good deal.
Yes. Yeah.
Another thing that I actually wanted to like add on here is that many a times it has been heard, like I have heard from several people that during the Ratha Yatra at Puri also, many people like those who are going through many sufferings and all, during the Ratha Yatra they used to come in under the chariots so that they get the mukti. God knows whether they got the mukti or not. I don't know, but several people have tried already.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I said that.
And that's why there is a protection team there. There's a team
Yes,
which
yes.
prevents
Nowadays
people
it is impossible.
Yes,
As
yes.
in to stop people from coming under the chariot.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
There's a cordon of security which walks around the
Mhm.
chariot to prevent people from coming close to the wheels, because there are people who try to end their life by coming under the wheels, because they believe that if they get killed by that process of coming under the wheel, then they will get mukti. So this faith drives some people to do that. But that is not the path of bhakti, or there is not any
Yes.
authentic path to mukti. Then nothing will happen. They may be born again as something else, and they may actually get the body of a ghost. It is said that people who commit suicide, they don't immediately get a janma, right? The act of suicide is said to be something that leads to a temporary body as a ghost somewhere, what we call in English as a ghost. In Sanskrit, there are many other words like pishacha. Yeah. So they live with that subtle body. Their gross body is not there, but the subtle body is there. The linga sharir is there. So they live with that, and they live a miserable life in that portion of time until they get a proper body again. So that is, suicide is not recommended at all in the scripture.
So Arnav, just to add to the point you said that dying in Kurukshetra, one gets Swarga. So yes, as you read the Mahabharata, this point becomes clear. One gets Swarga, but after the Swarga period is over, because Swarga period is a definite period, no? It is not indefinite. So after the Swarga period is over, the person has to come back and get back his Papa Punya account. He'll get back, and he has to again go through the same process of birth and death. So it is like a promotion, but demotion will definitely happen after that.
Yes.
Swarga is temporary. Swarga is not an eternal thing. It is not liberation. Swarga is just an elevation. It's like people migrate from here to some other country for better wealth or better lifestyle and everything. But we know that it's not permanent. It's only for a lifetime, right? Something like that. Swarga is like that. You go to a better existence for some time, but again, the punya papa of the past will give you further births.
Sir,
Vishanti.
Sir, what about those who attend this through the path of bhakti and karma?
Attain what?
Like for those who have attained the swarga in the path of their bhakti and karma, not that kind of death they have got from the God or so. So for them, is the Swarga is a temporary thing, or they get a permanent seat?
See, Swarga is always temporary. Swarga is just a
Okay,
form
yeah.
of existence. It's in the very crude translation for Swarga in English is heaven, which comes from Christianity. But our understanding of Swarga is not the Christian understanding of heaven. It is just a better form of existence than is present on this earth. It is some form of existence that you get where you are like a deva, a divine, where you have certain types of abilities which you don't have now as a human being. And you live a life where the miseries that you experience here are not present in the same intensity there. Your miseries are much less, your mental anxieties are much less, although it's not free from anxiety. Like, for example, Indra, the king of Swarga, is always anxious, always fearing that somebody will take away his throne.
Yes.
We also hear so many stories of people usurping his throne and he's displaced.
Yeah.
And Vishnu has to come and rescue him. So even in Swarga, anxiety is not absent, it's present. So misery is present, just like it is present on the earth, it's also present in Swarga, in the Swarga existence. So Swarga is a material thing. It is prakritika. It is apara prakriti. Mukti is different from Swarga. Mukti is liberation, means you are completely out of this material existence.
Hmm.
Do you follow? So whichever path you get Swarga, it is still the same.
Okay.
So, sir, mukti and moksha are the same thing
Are
or
the
they're
same.
different?
Mukti and
The
moksha are the same. Yes.
But there was some fine difference there, right? Like someone who prays to the or someone who considers Brahman to be the most superior, then that person gets, I forgot the exact terms, but it's like someone who thinks Brahman is the form would eventually merge with the Brahman in some way or something, but they'll not be merging with Sri Krishna because bhakti should be to the form of Krishna. That was how it was, right? So
See,
in that way,
Brahmopasana, that's called Brahmopasana, like the Upasana which considers that supreme truth to be formless, nameless,
yes,
but eternal, joyful, and so on. And it also accepts that same eternal thing, eternal reality sometimes takes a form like Krishna, Vishnu, and so on, and it's not offensive. So by the practice of bhakti, such a person who meditates or contemplates on that impersonal Brahman eventually gets a existence, a mukti. It's called Sayujya Mukti. In that Sayujya Mukti, one is not born again. One doesn't take a birth again anywhere in this material existence, but one has an existence by which one is very happy. One experiences that eternal existence where there is no misery, there is no confusion, there's no darkness, there's complete sense of happiness, sense of lightness, happiness, knowledge of oneself as eternal, full consciousness. But it's different from bhakti. Bhakti builds on that, in the sense bhakti is way beyond that. Bhakti is a emotion where you consciously want to do seva. You are hankering to do seva all the time. Bhakti literature elaborately describes the psychology of seva, the mentality of seva. So bhakti is beyond that Brahma Sayujya. So that's Brahma Sayujya is also a form of mukti. It's the most basic form of mukti.
I see. Perfect.
I don't know if it answered the question.
Yes, it did. Yeah, I had that confusion because there are several sects, right, who actually pray to the Brahman, where the Aham Brahmasmi and concepts like that come from. So that's basically why I was thinking, how does that work? Because I think from one of our previous discussions, it was very clear that okay, so they don't really get mukti like Jains have a different kind of a belief where they think that okay, devtas, so they don't believe there is an existence of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, but they do believe that there are devtas who are basically protectors, and then the people who get moksha, the Tirthankaras or all of them, they actually are somewhere there where they are the ones who become everything, and then devtas are like more like who are tasked with protecting them and things like that. So the equation they believe in is very different, and they would not even understand or think about Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So that's why. But they believe in moksha. So I was thinking, what's the moksha? But I now get it. So they are basically aiming for the Sahajya Mukta, Mukti.
Possible.
Sayujya Moksha that you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sayujya. Yeah, correct. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll meet again next week. Punarmilana.
Punarmilana.